about economics, because sometimes, you know, we seem to think that only other people can be wealthy.
Yes.
You know, and
Not only that
yeah.
we're the only ones that use our own products.
And that's the other thing, you know, and I look at this and I say to myself, when I go into Newark and I go into Irvington and I go into East Orange, I see the people who own the fruit stores,
Right.
selling Caribbean products.
Yeah, and they're all Asians.
And they're not Caribbean people.
Exactly.
And to me, that's
The
an
thing-
oxymoron.
What I noticed too, also with that, it's like a Caribbean person can own a Caribbean store and sell Caribbean products, but the Caribbean would not go in there and buy their product. They would go straight to the Asians, and they would buy the product from there. But they're getting it from our own island, but they rather go over there. I just feel like Caribbean people, and not to bash them, I just feel like they're not innovative as far as packaging goes. As far as like marketing goes, like they're not innovative. For instance, I was in Guyana 3-4 weeks ago. I've been there after like 6 years. So I went there. There's lots of tall buildings out of nowhere. Tall buildings, hotels, because that's the running thing down there, hotels. And then the World Cup is coming up, so of course we need a hotel. They have the cricket field. They just built a new cricket field. Nice, great. But here are people who's going to do service work for the rest of it. Who's going to be a maid for the rest of their lives? You know, like who's like, there's like the accountants over there is probably 1%. And the only accounting company from up here is Deloitte. That is in Guyana, basically. The only foreign accounting company that I know so far. But also, when I was looking at the packaging of the product, everyone is selling plantain chips in the same see-through bag. And then here's this plantain chips in a nice Dorito-looking bag. And you read the package, made in the Dominican Republic. And Guyana has plantain galore. Like, homemade, like, why do you need to import, and that's something that I noticed too with the Caribbean. They're always importing what they have.
And you know,
And they don't notice that these companies are coming to your country and getting this raw product and bringing it up to America and making it and then reselling it back to you. Like they don't notice that. Like furniture, they get the wood out of Guyana and bring it up here and make the furniture and sell it down there. But because it has Ashley on it,
but she's so right, because before you come, you know, Tracina, we were talking about coconut water that Trinidad and Tobago has.
Big thing.
It's a
big
Trinidad and
business.
Tobago has.
But they're trying to get into Guyana with that. The reason that they don't want it from the islands, because remember the islands now surrounded by water, and they say the more the coconut grows more on the beach area, like say it grows more in the outer areas, because they don't go to the outskirts of Guyana to get it. They go into Guyana to get it. The ones that grow on the outskirts are the ones that get the most salt out of the water, so it has a salty taste to it. The ones that grow inland is that one with a sweet taste to it. And Guyana has coconut galore, like crazy, but they just don't know about the market.
Exactly.
And my mom actually took a group of investors down to Guyana for coconut, and because they don't know the market, they was like just throwing a price on it. And the people would say, okay, that's expensive. And they would look at them like, no, it's not. That's how much we charge it. And they want to stick to their price. But then I was looking at BBC World, and they were showing in Africa where these scientists came up with mutated coconut trees and plant them with the real coconut trees so they can adopt to these coconut trees just so that they could get coconut. And I mean, Africa of all places, like really, they have coconuts that's been growing there for ages. They probably have more coconuts than Guyana and the Caribbean combined. But they grow these coconuts in their laboratory, and then they plant it with the rest of coconuts to adopt to the environment. I mean, almost all the foods that we eat are genetically mutated food. But just to see them do that with coconut, imagine what they're doing with the rest of our foods.
Exactly. You know, it's. I mean, this discussion, and I think this forum, it's really excellent. It's really moving us, you know, to a higher level and a higher plane, and getting us to think a little more conscious. And I'll just add another one: avocado.
Yes.
You know,
oh my goodness,
avocado.
Right, the stuff
I have
we,
been, as a matter of fact,
they had cut that out of their menu or something. They did with it.
Yeah, I went to. I have my wife has family in St. Vincent. She had about I think, 2 or 3 avocado trees in our yard.
Right.
And these avocados were huge.
Yes.
And some gentlemen used to come and pay, I think, 50 cents for each one of those avocados. You know what the price of avocados is.
$6.
$6. You see, but see, understand, the theme here is education. And I don't care if it happens in the classroom or if it happens in the boardroom. You see, we suffer for lack of knowledge. And I believe when we look at diaspora members, those of us that, okay, we've seen both sides of the coin now. Okay, so we understand what the marketing requirements and what the marketing themes are here. I think we have a connected responsibility with the Caribbean countries to bring those ideas to them and to educate them. You know, to Tracina's point, I went back to Grenada a few years back, and a lot of the young kids, I remember we were members of the 4-H when we were in grammar school. And we planted citrus plants, we planted banana trees, and we had these competitions with different schools. I didn't see any of that when I went back, and I think we need to reintroduce that to the educational system and have them embrace it nationwide, because it will help with the growth national.
It would
product
be hard.
of the country.
I think it would be hard to introduce something like that. Like, for instance, like in Guyana and Trinidad and Jamaica, they're very high in technology. No one is paying it, okay, let me go farm. Everyone wants you speak to your family down there, they want a laptop. Mm-hmm. They want something that has to do with technology. Like, technology has taken over that in the Caribbean, where people don't want to plant. They don't want anything like, as in culture, like technology just took away like their entire culture.
But let me.
You're listening to the South Orange Maplewood Online Radio Experience. For more, go to SoMore.org to participate in the discussion.
Time check. The time is approximately 9:07 p.m. That time check is brought to you by All Star Motors, providing you with services you can trust. They provide you with ASC certified mechanics, New Jersey State inspection facilities, used car sales, authorized police towing, and emission repair facilities. You can call them at 973-762-8771. That's 973-762-8771. If you just tuned into us, we are here tonight with Harry Perryman and Tracina Sobers. And they're the ones that are holding this first East Orange Caribbean Economic Forum that will be held on Monday, June the 9th, from 12 noon to 4 p.m. in the City of East Orange Division of Senior Services, located at 90 Halstead Street in East Orange. For more information, you can call Miss Norma Mackey. She's the Economic Development Manager at 973-266-5405. That's 973-266-5405. And this first East Orange Caribbean Economic Forum is in celebration of Caribbean Heritage Month. It's open to the public. The featured guest speaker is Claire A. Nelson, Ph.D., and she's the founder of Institute of Caribbean Studies, with remarks by Mayor Lester E. Taylor III. Now we are back with Tracina and Harry. Harry, you wanted to say something before we went for that show.
Tracina is absolutely right, unfortunately, and very unfortunately. So that's where the education, because again, you see, in the Caribbean, young people have this false mentality that if it doesn't shine, it's not worth anything. You know, if the shoe doesn't have a Michael Jordan or LeBron James on it, it's not, it's not worth anything. So we have to re-educate them. We have to show them that the very things that they are reluctant to do, such as agriculture, is the means towards an end, to acquiring, to traveling abroad, to studying, or to bringing the technology to them. But I think what we need to do as an incentive is to show them how to use that technology as a tool, because technology is really a tool, okay? A computer is a tool. That's all it is. You know, the things that we used to do with pen and paper and a calculator 20 years ago, we do it now on a computer. There's an application for virtually anything. And as such, we need to introduce our young people, our educators in the Caribbean, yes, definitely using the tools. We need to have smart boards and whiteboards and laptops and projectors. We need to use those tools. We cannot go back to educating our people the way we were educated. Okay, the tools are there, and thus we have to use those tools. But my point is and remains that we have to reintroduce them to something that they have neglected. Grenada has in the parish of St. Patrick, I believe, they have a goat program. Now, that is an example of a reintroduction of what used to be animal husbandry that we used to practice religiously when I was a kid. So now they have these competition. And the kids, they're given young goats, and their responsibility is to raise those goats. And, every year that project is expanded. And that's a beautiful project. And they milk the goat, and they manufacture goat cheese, which is very nutritious, and goat milk. So those are some of the natural resources that we need to exploit, and we need to have our young people reintroduced and to show them that yes, you can gain the technology through going back to basics.
Now, as we talk about technology, what about renewable energy and sustainable tourism? I mean, today we talk about solar. Everything is talking about solar. I mean, right here in South Orange and Maplewood, they're trying to sell you solar for your house. What about renewable energy, and sustainable tourism for the Caribbean? Now, when you talk to people about the Caribbean, they will think that it's all about tourism. Because they use Jamaica as sort of the example and say that, most people think there's so much tourism going on in Trinidad and Tobago. But it used to be.
It used
agriculture.
To be that way, but I mean, like for instance, Jamaica, their highest income there is tourism. Barbados, their highest income by far is tourism.
And likewise, Grenada. All
but
these
these are like, I mean, you have to remember, these are little islands that really can't fend for themselves. Like certain things, like you need to import it into there. I mean, Trinidad, by luck, has asphalt there.
And oil.
Yeah, that was by luck that they have that there, because that island just has it. But for the rest of islands, you really can't say, okay, y'all can do like Trinidad does. You can't, because Jamaica, as much as they come to America and they say, oh, we love Jamaica so much, everything that we use is our own. They don't know that because they're blindsided. They don't know that these things are being imported into their island. Jamaica does a large amount of import into their island. And what really freaked me out one year was that I realized that Jamaica was dumpstering. They was selling sugar, I believe, to the U.S., and selling it to the rest of the Caribbean for a way higher price than they were selling it in the U.S. And then, on top of that, I was shocked because Guyana, it's the largest sugar manufacturer within the Caribbean, wasn't even providing the Caribbean with the sugar. So I was like, okay, you guys are all CARICOM, which means Caribbean Common Markets, that always have a meeting every single year. Once you sit down there and say, okay, Guyana, you make a lot of sugar, you need to, because they want to come up with $1 for the entire Caribbean. I mean, at first they used to call it the ECC, but that was only for Eastern Caribbean. But yeah, if you want to come up with this $1, everyone needs to be on the same page. And I feel like as for CARICOM, everyone is not on the same page, and every island is doing as they please. But I know you want to be like the Euros.
Well, Trina, not to get too political into that, but it's competition, and which is natural, and you can understand, if it's just like you mentioned. I was shocked that Grenadians, I should say, was buying bananas, because as a kid growing up, you can just walk down anywhere in the country and pick a belly full of bananas, ripe bananas. It used to spoil on the trees. So here again, we need to re-educate our people, our fellow Grenadians, fellow Guyanese, fellow Trinidadians, that they have great potential in the natural resources that exist in the islands. but they're not really optimizing those resources. And I just feel that, maybe